years, the nation's housing market has boomed, pricing many out of their financial comfort zone and the market. Now home prices show signs of cooling off.
It's the question everyone has been whispering, posting, arguing about, and dramatically predicting over overpriced brunch plates and endless Zillow scrolls. Is the housing market about to crash at the end of 2025? People don't even say the word crash casually anymore. They drop it like it's a scandalous secret that could shatter someone's hopes of ever owning property. After the whirlwind years of pandemic bidding wars, roller coaster mortgage rates, and enough contradictory predictions to fuel a year's worth of podcast debates, Americans are exhausted, suspicious, and hyper-alert to any sign of trouble.
Part of that has to do with volatility in interest rates and home buyers just getting cold feet about how much they're paying.
And behind that anxiety is the ghost of 2008, still lurking like a bad memory everyone pretends they've moved on from but secretly think about far too often. But this time, the whispers don't match the data, and the drama doesn't match the reality. Because while the rumor mill is convinced a crash is tiptoeing around the corner, the people who actually live and breathe the market, economists, analysts, brokers, and the CEOs who watch this industry like hawks, are looking at the same numbers and calmly insisting that 2025 is shaping up to be something very different, something more stable, and something far less disastrous than the collective imagination assumes. And yes, the story comes with twists, contradictions, market mood swings, and surprising plot lines. But at the end of the day, the insiders say we're heading toward normalcy, not catastrophe. In fact, the biggest twist might be that normalcy is the story.
Jerika, just a few years ago, people were putting in offers on homes far above the asking price, sight unseen. But experts say sellers may no longer have the upper hand.
A housing crash, the kind people love to catastrophize, doesn't just appear out of nowhere like a plot twist in a dramatic miniseries. It happens when values plummet because either nobody wants homes or there are far too many of them flooding the market. Crash conditions are dramatic, unmistakable, and fueled by harsh economic realities like recessions, unemployment spikes, or mortgage rates rising so high they may as well be written in bold red font. A crash brings chaos, but also openings. Some buyers cheer, some homeowners cry, some investors hover like hawks. But when experts look at late 2025, they aren't seeing the collapse people keep whispering about.
People aren't feeling great about the economy these days. The job market is sagging. Inflation is still very much a worry.
And one area where we're definitely seeing that economic anxiety is in the housing market.
They're seeing a market exhaling after years of tension. According to Hobie Hanna, CEO of Howard Hanna Realestate, the idea of a looming crash is simply off the table. He describes today's climate as a market correction, grounded not in volatility, but stability. Unlike 2008, people today have massive home equity cushions. Lenders have much tighter standards, and the available inventory sits far below the levels that would signal trouble. In other words, the crash narrative may be captivating, but the fundamentals don't support the storyline. Of course, not everyone feels reassured. How can you be told the market is full of opportunity when job reports from earlier this year looked like the economic equivalent of a slow, concerning leak? For months, Americans watched job growth slump and wondered how anyone would continue affording mortgage payments if unemployment kept rising. Some experts even blamed weak job numbers for the Federal Reserve's recent rate cuts. The mood was somber and the headlines didn't help. But like any good plot twist, new data changed the tone.
Deliberate about the extent and timing of additional interest rate cuts. And so that does sort of hint at the fact that there's some uncertainty over when and whether they're going to be able to continue to lower interest rates.
The ongoing government shutdown paused the release of new federal unemployment reports. But the ADP National Employment Report delivered something rare in 2025. Good news. The private sector added 42,000 jobs in October, pushing total employment to levels not seen in years. The number wasn't fireworks worthy, not the celebratory 150,000 level economists used to treat as the healthy minimum. But Josh Hurt from Vanguard explained that the break-even rate is no longer what it was. Retirement trends and immigration policy shifts have completely rewritten the job market rules, pushing the real modern break-even closer to 60,000 jobs per month. Suddenly, 42,000 doesn't look like a failure. It looks like a realistic, steady path upward. It signals a labor market that is stabilizing, not spiraling.
And the dynamism of the economy that's really reacting to conditions on the ground. And so I think we'd largely agree with that. The U.S. economy is in a good place at the moment.
Still, even a recovering job market changes how people interact with their financial lives. When jobs take longer to replace, emergency savings become more important than ever, especially for homeowners, juggling mortgage payments, home expenses, and economic uncertainty. And in a softer labor environment, borrowing against home equity becomes a more strategic game. Rather than pulling a giant lump sum home equity loan and hoping nothing goes wrong, many experts suggest leaning toward flexible products like HELOCs, lines of credit where you borrow in stages instead of all at once. It's the financial equivalent of pacing yourself through a storyline, not betting the entire plot on a single dramatic moment. And with market conditions shifting, cautious borrowing becomes a smart character move. Meanwhile, home prices themselves are serving up a mixed message with all the flair of a dramatic ensemble cast. In some cities, prices are not just holding, they're soaring. Honolulu, Manhattan, and Buffalo are seeing jaw-dropping annual increases, ranging from 11% to nearly 27%, a performance so bold that buyers in those markets can feel the heat even from states away. Yet other markets, including trendy hotspots like San Francisco, Miami, Austin, and Denver, are showing declines month by month. It's as if the housing market is simultaneously starring in two shows.
So we're having to really talk with the sellers now of like, okay, the market's changing slightly, so we're gonna have to start really negotiating those deals if things come up in the inspection or anything like that.
One, a thrilling climb, and the other, a quiet cool down. Despite the mood swings, the national median tells the true story. Prices are up 1.4% year over year. That kind of slow, steady increase is not what a crash looks like. It's what a post-frenzy normalization looks like. And the inventory numbers support the stability narrative even more clearly. The U.S. currently has a 4.6-month supply of homes as of September 2025. A truly balanced market would sit at 6 months. The build-up to the 2008 crash, that was a terrifying 13 months of supply, the real estate equivalent of a bursting dam. Today's 4.6 months is nowhere near that territory.
Now you have a brand new home that's about $450,000 that no one can afford.
It's tight, it's constrained, and it's one of the very reasons home prices have refused to fall dramatically. Demand still outstrips supply, partly because consumers are eager to take advantage of declining mortgage rates, and partly because homeowners sitting on mountains of equity aren't rushing to sell unless they absolutely need to. Speaking of mortgage rates, they've emerged as one of the biggest supporting characters in the 2025 housing story. Early November's average rate of 6.22% for a 30-year fixed mortgage may not sound thrilling, but it's a noticeable dip compared to last year's rates, and it represents a slow trend toward affordability. The fantasy of 2.7% mortgage rates returning, gone, buried, not coming back. But a steady downward drift into the mid-6% range is the kind of realistic, grounded progress that attracts buyers who want to move forward rather than wait for a miracle. And with refinancing always an option if rates fall further, many consumers see 2025 as a window to get in, not sit out. Still, the ghost of 2008 refuses to fully leave the public consciousness.
No one holds these rate paths with a great deal of conviction, and everyone would agree that they're all going to be data dependent, and that you can make a case for any of the rate paths, I think, that you see in the SEP.
Even though the factors that triggered that crisis are nowhere to be found today. Back then, lenders handed out no documentation loans and zero-down mortgages like candy at a parade. Today's lending environment is strict, almost stubbornly so. Even the government-backed loan programs with low down payments, like FHA or VA loans, still require thorough verification of income, assets, and employment. And with the average American sitting on more than $300,000 in home equity, the financial cushions in place today are nothing like the dangerously thin margins of the early 2000s. Homeowners can cut prices if needed, they can refinance strategically, and they can leverage equity instead of drowning in debt. David Gottlieb, a wealth advisor, summed it up best by saying that comparing today to 2008 is an apples to oranges situation. The similarities are cosmetic, not structural. Even so, economists don't pretend the market is invincible. They've outlined specific red flags people should monitor, not to instill fear, but to keep expectations grounded.
We don't feel as pressed to put in an offer right away. We do see other houses come up quite frequently.
A true housing crash could be triggered by a severe economic shock, something like a major stock market collapse, sweeping job cuts, or a sudden and dramatic surge in housing supply. If unemployment spiked quickly, homeowners unable to keep up with mortgage payments could face foreclosure, causing inventory to balloon and values to nosedive. But none of that is happening now. In fact, other rising costs, like property insurance and taxes, may pose more local risk than anything related to mortgage rates or home prices. Fixed-income households could feel the squeeze and decide to sell. But even if that happens in pockets across the country, shortages are still strong enough nationally to absorb that pressure without collapsing prices. Economists like Rick Sharga emphasize the importance of watching your local market rather than getting swept up in national panic. Population shifts, wage growth, job opportunities, and local housing development.
A lot of what's driving the increase in home sales, Michelle, is exactly that. It's historically low interest rates. It's an economy that is gradually improving. We're finally starting to see some wage growth.
All play large roles in determining whether a region is warming up cooling down, or plateauing. Some cities will see prices dip, yes, but that doesn't make them crash zones. Real estate is hyperlocal, and 2025 may very well be the year that message finally sinks in. For buyers, a housing crash, if one were to happen, would be a complicated mix of benefits and drawbacks. Lower home prices sound like a dream, but they often come hand in hand with rising unemployment and tighter lending standards, making it harder to qualify for loans. For those with stable employment and strong savings, a crash could offer an opening. But for most households, financial stress elsewhere in the economy would overshadow the housing discounts. On the seller side, homeowners who don't need to list their homes during a downturn could simply wait it out, but those who must sell might have to accept lower offers or more aggressive pricing strategies. Being underwater on your mortgage isn't immediately catastrophic unless you need to move. Since nobody can perfectly time the market, financial experts recommend focusing on personal resilience rather than global predictions. Building an emergency fund, paying down high-interest debt, buying within your means, choosing a fixed-rate mortgage, and making incremental extra payments can strengthen your position no matter what direction the market takes. These moves reduce vulnerability, increase equity faster, and give you more leverage even if the market cools.